Your father was kind of that old school
He was
yellow
old school.
page
Yeah.
sales guy.
Yes.
He liked the billboards. He liked TV commercials.
Yeah.
He liked the yellow pages.
He did.
You guys in the early years weren't doing a whole lot of digital stuff.
That's true. That's very true.
And so how did you focus on that over the years?
When I started, I'm sure he'll correct me, but when I started, I remember looking at the marketing budget for a year and something like $300,000 being allocated to yellow page advertising. To be fair, we had 9 services, so we had to be in lots of different sections, right? Mm-hmm. And we had all these coded numbers, and it was like you needed like this legend to understand what's coming in from this. But slowly, as like the world changed, I remember in that time, this is like around 2012, and the rise and fall of things like Angie's List and Yelp and all these different things, and kind of when Dad made the connection that Google is like the new Yellow Pages, mm-hmm. that's when he started to trust me more in taking marketing funds and turning it over to Google. And quite frankly, you know, to everybody, you know, who's out there on some spectrum of business, when you feel like you're making it up as you go, I was making it up. I was watching YouTube tutorials, and I was asking friends that I knew in marketing and doing all the research that I could, but I was 100% making so much of it up sometimes, you know. I remember one time in particular, Dad showed up at a meeting and somebody had sent him a picture of like hundreds and hundreds of yellow pages in this dumpster and outside of this dumpster. And I just remember him being like, what the fuck am I even doing this? And I was like, wow. So that was I remember that being a pretty big moment as well, for sure. So yeah.
So after the transaction,
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Bobby, of course, embraced his operational role.
Yeah, he loves it.
You did marketing and advertising.
I did for anticimex for a couple of years, and I loved it. In truth, the marketing team for anticimex, so talented. And what was great was not feeling by myself. So much in like a family business, when you're growing it up, you get this feeling that you're just very much alone, you know, and that you do have to figure these things out, like as you go. But it was so nice to talk to other people who were learning different things and could teach me different things, and I could ask different questions. And I was actually surprised at the things that I knew that I could help them with. I was like, oh, you didn't know that? Well, I guess I didn't either. So it was great to be connected with people up and down. I still touch base with Stacy from Turner from time to time, actually. And Jason, I think Jason's at Viking. Yeah, it was like learning. It cranked everything up to 11 for sure, especially in terms of what I was learning about digital marketing, because obviously in the States, anticimex is heavily reliant on digital marketing to kind of push the line, especially when they're trying to protect their bottom line. So.
Yeah, well, I think in a lot of ways they're more focused on digital than they would be like traditional analog stuff like billboards and those sorts of things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you did that for a couple of years. Then you, if I remember correctly, you started your own business.
I did. I started an LLC doing kind of what I do now, right? But I was definitely missing a piece of the puzzle while I was doing it. One thing that I struggled with in the PCO industry was networking. I was not great at it. I kind of took that. Dad always struggled to network as well in the industry, right? And so I never really saw it like as a priority. So it became kind of a disadvantage for me when I was starting out on my own, trying to solicit my services to PCOs, right? Mm-hmm. I just didn't have the connections. I hadn't put in the time or whatever. Also, Katie was working on her Airbnb business, my wife, and trying to support her, trying to raise 3 kids. We adopted during the pandemic. That was insane. Yeah. So it was a crazy like couple of years. Do you want me to tell the story about where we are like now? Is that appropriate?
Absolutely.
Okay. When both Katie and I were self-employed, health insurance is lousy, right? Our family had just grown by 1 person. I need to make sure everybody's got adequate coverage, and we didn't know much about my youngest son's needs, his health needs. So I was like, I have to start thinking differently about how I'm doing this. So I actually ended up starting to work for Aruza for a little bit, which is how I learned about Alan. Because I didn't network, I just didn't know anybody. I worked with Arusa for like 6 months before I was able to finally partner up with Alan, and then the rest is kind of lighter fluid. Like, it's been insane.
So I remember you were doing some work for Arusa.
Yep.
You met Alan.
Yeah.
You guys now run what's called Lizard.
Yeah. We do. Another inherited company that Alan was gracious enough to let me rebrand.
Yep.
And it's been such a ride working with, I mean, it is completely, you know, we don't have an office anywhere. So our only like infrastructure is our daily meetings, right? Mm-hmm. But working with people with different skill sets to do what I was doing for Killingsworth for other people is fantastic. And I think the thing that compels me in this is not just the fact that I want to grow a business. I mean, I come from entrepreneurs, right? And a lot of people don't know this, but Dad's mom was an entrepreneur, and sometimes Dad's dad was an entrepreneur. Not a great one, but his mom.
But one
was
nonetheless.
excellent. Yeah, his mom was a great one. So it's kind of moves down. So it's not just growing a business that's like compelling to me and watching it grow. This thing that you're like pouring yourself into. But I mean, I 100% remember what it was like when Killingsworth was nothing and we were broke. Do you know what I mean? I remember Debbie and Dad taking us to Quincy's on Tuesdays because kids ate free at the buffet. Do you know what I mean? And we always got like extra plates. And I remember egg salad sandwiches, so many egg salad sandwiches because it's cheap. Do you know what I mean? And I remember buying our clothes at Value Village. And so I remember where some of these companies are at the beginning, and I have so much respect for it because I don't know, you know, you dream about where your future is going to take you and what might happen down the road. But some of these like PCOs, I can help them visualize and articulate, hey, this is for real. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I know it's hard. I know it sucks sometimes. I know you might be screaming when you've got to get the bats out of an attic and embarrass yourself in front of clients. I know all of those things, but if you stick with it, something great can happen at the end. And getting to partner with lots of Mike and Debbie Rogers at different phases of their journeys it's been awesome.